In 1831, the United States government forced the Choctaw Nation west. Around 14,000 Choctaw were marched from Mississippi to Oklahoma Territory. The journey became known as the Trail of Tears. But approximately 5,000 Choctaw refused to go. They stayed. They hid. They survived in the Mississippi homeland they had occupied for centuries, even when the federal government told them to leave. According to the Treaty of Dancing Rabbit Creek signed in 1830, each Choctaw who remained in Mississippi was promised 640 acres. They never got it. By 1900, the Choctaw population in Mississippi had dwindled to 2,000, the survivors of what historians call the diminution of the Choctaw estate. For over a century, the Mississippi Choctaw lived in grinding poverty. According to a 1933 federal narrative report cited by the Oklahoma Historical Society, their conditions were so dire that the Indian Commissioner John Collier used the documentation to propose reorganizing them as a sovereign tribe. On April 20th, 1945, it happened. According to federal records, the Mississippi Band of Choctaw Indians was officially organized under the Indian Reorganization Act. They received federal recognition. They regained sovereignty. They were given 18,000 acres held in trust, not the millions they'd lost, but it was theirs. But sovereignty without resources is just a title. The Mississippi Choctaw still lived in poverty. Their unemployment rate hovered around 75% in the late 1970s. Then, one man came home. Phillip Martin was born in Philadelphia, Mississippi, in 1926. He left as a young man, served in World War II in Europe, and witnessed the Marshall Plan rebuilding destroyed nations. He came home and asked the question that would change everything. If they could rebuild France and Germany, why not Neshoba County? According to the Washington Post and Harvard Project on American Indian Economic Development, Martin was elected chief in 1979. He started with a simple concept. The reservation was sovereign territory. It had no state taxes, it had willing workers, it had land. He could attract corporations. By 1981, according to Mississippi Encyclopedia, he'd persuaded Philadelphia to issue bonds to bring American greetings to an industrial park on the reservation. Then came General Motors. Then came more manufacturers. By the 1990s, according to documented records, Choctaw Enterprise, a company Martin founded, had grown from 57 employees to over 900. Then in 1994, Martin built the Silver Star Casino on swampy bottomland that no one wanted. According to the Meridian Star, the casino became a rousing success, helping propel Mississippi to the nation's largest gaming destination between Atlantic City and Las Vegas. By 2001, according to Harvard Project Research and the U.S. Department of Interior, Choctaw unemployment had plummeted from 75% to 4%. The tribe was generating $172.6 million in annual wages. They'd created over 7,000 jobs, more than half for non-Choctaw. The Pearl River Resort, a $750 million complex with 2 casinos, golf courses, a water park, and a golf club, had become one of Mississippi's largest employers. But here's what matters more than the numbers. Martin established a 100% college scholarship for every Choctaw student. He rebuilt schools. He funded health care. He restored dignity to a people who'd been told for 150 years that they were defeated. The Choctaw had owned 32 million acres when Europeans arrived in 1540. By 1900, they'd lost almost everything. But Martin refused to accept that loss as final. He took sovereignty seriously. He treated it like a sovereign is supposed to, as a platform for economic self-determination. Martin died in 2010, but his leadership set a benchmark for Indian country. The current Chief Phyliss Anderson is continuing his work, refinancing debt, expanding healthcare and education, and proving that tribal sovereignty isn't backward-facing nostalgia. It's forward-building vision. The Mississippi Choctaw refused to be erased in 1831. They refused to stay broken in 1979. Their story is about what becomes possible when tribal leaders stop asking Washington for permission and start building for their own people. That's sovereignty. That's self-determination. What does tribal sovereignty mean to you? Have you witnessed indigenous nations building for themselves? Drop a real thought, not a debate, a genuine answer. What does this story teach you about power and self-determination?